Here's how I turned a scrap piece of red oak into a somewhat nice end table. And I did it with barely any tools. It wasn't quite large enough for a big project, and I didn't really feel like buying more of it. So I decided to use this as a skill building project and experimented with a few different techniques I haven't done before. And I'm going to share the handful of lessons I learned during the process the hard way. I had a board of red oak that was 3 feet long and about 9 and something inches wide that was originally meant for a desk shelf. My plan was that I wanted to make this into an end tabletop that was 18 by 16 inches. But I had a problem. For me to get 16 inches as the depth, I would have to cut my board in half and glue it back up, which would give me 18 by 18 inches. Sounds great. But to glue the board together, I need clamps, at least 18 inches or longer. And I'm about 6 inches short. So, what did I do? I decided to make my own clamps. Feeling like a genius, I went on my way to glue up the board, and I applied the glue and started clamping, and everything seemed fine. Until this happened. Lesson 1. Soft wood breaks easily. I know, right? Shocker. My attempt failed, but
It became personal with me.
determined to make this work, I picked up another stick and made another clamp and tried again. And this time, it worked. Lesson 2. If it doesn't work once, just try again. Also, buy some real clamps. While waiting for the glue to dry, I decided to start with the legs. I picked up these 2-inch by 2-inch sticks from Home Depot. And here's where I learned lesson 3. Let me explain. This isn't actually about the construction lumber. This is about the red oak. I bought this red oak from Home Depot when I was first starting out. This costed me about $55 for a 1-inch by 5-inch by 8-foot board, which in board feet is about 3 1/3. Now, if I were to ask,
Hey Siri, how much does red oak cost per board foot these days?
it can cost around $5 to $7 a board foot. Now, if you can do the math, that's about $17 to $25 for the board I bought. Less than half of what I paid. Lesson 3.
Buy hardwood from hardwood sellers.
Anyways, I wanted to give the legs a mid-century modern look, so I wanted a 10-degree tilt on the front legs. That meant that this middle piece also needed a 10-degree cut on each side for it to all fit together. But there was another problem. The size I had initially set out for the leg base just didn't look right with the top. So I decided to make it smaller. With the legs put together, I went back to the top for maybe the hardest challenge of this project. The thing is, I like making nice looking things, but the problem is, I don't have very nice looking tools. So I often have to find creative ways to get around that, like I did for my next challenge. I squared up the edges and got the top to size. I wanted to create this beveled edge all around the top, but it was going to be tricky. Usually, this is done with the router, but the closest thing I have to a router is my janky circular saw, which is basically the only thing I have. I used this track to make sure I was aligned with the edge, but this was the hard part. I needed exactly a 1/4 inch gap to get this flat portion for the bevel. So I used a small cutoff of 1/4 inch plywood to get it as close as possible. After some questionable use of highly dangerous machinery, I finally got it. Lesson 4. It's about time to buy a router. Also, don't be an idiot. And now, it was time for staining. This could make or break the entire project. First, I started with the top, which felt fairly straightforward. I was confident for this because I've applied black walnut stain a million times. However, for the black stain on the legs, not so much. I used this brush to evenly spread out the stain, while also trying to not get it on myself. Lesson 5. Get a glove that actually fits. Lesson 6. Don't get stain on yourself. After waiting for that to dry for 24 hours, it was time to screw everything into place. And this is how it turned out. Was I happy with the result? No. But that's okay. Because of the final lesson. Lesson 7. You live and you learn. See you in the next one.